Hey everyone, and welcome back to a fun-filled math lesson about fractions. So today we're talking about subtracting fractions, and the good news is subtracting fractions is basically adding fractions. We're just going to change how we see it, and we're going to change how we think about it. So let's start with an example. If I've got -1/3 and I want to subtract -5/6. Those parentheses are just to keep the negative sign from touching the subtraction sign. So if I use the same theory, the same idea that we did with the decimals in subtracting, this isn't minusing -5/6 anymore. It's adding a positive 5/6. So we're going to change this to adding a positive, because taking away negatives makes the number greater overall. If we add negatives, it makes the number less, and if we take away negatives, it makes it go up. It's like debt. If you owe money, you have negative money, and if you take away debt, then you have more money. So the first step is to change subtraction to adding the opposite. So done. Now we're talking about fractions, and we're adding fractions. So from this point, you could go back and look at the adding fractions notes and do the same thing. But let's pretend you missed that lesson, so we'll keep going. So when I'm adding fractions, I have to have a common denominator. So I have 3 and 6. If I count by 3s and I count by 6s, what's the first number that I'm going to hit that's the same? It's 6. Did I have to do anything to this one to get a 6 as the denominator? Nope. So it's just 5. That stays the same. I can get rid of this plus a positive because that just means add. What do you do to a 3 to get to a 6? You have to multiply it by 2. So if this portal over here is going to take that fraction portal and put it through doubling it, we're going to double the numerator, double the denominator. So the denominator times 2 is 6. So the numerator times 2 is 2, and it's a negative. Now that we have common denominators, we're dealing with sixths. So I have -2/6 and +5/6. I keep the denominator the same. I keep it. Now that I have it, I keep it. 6. And so now I just look at the numerators. The denominators kind of tells me what currency I'm dealing with. Like, do you have $2 and like you have two $1 and three $1, or do you have two $5 and three $5? Anyway, so I'm dealing with sixths. It tells me how big my fraction is. And I have 2 negatives and 5 positives. And so when I'm looking at the numerators only, I'm going to add numerators with integer rules. So if I have a -2 plus 5, are they both on the same team or are they on opposite teams? They're on opposite teams because I have a negative and I have a positive. And so which team is bigger? Is 5 or 2 bigger? The +5 is bigger. So my answer is going to be a positive. You don't have to put the positive, but I'm putting it there so we don't forget. And if there's 5 positives and 2 negatives, the 2 negatives pair up with 2 positives to cancel out. So then I just end up with 3 positives left over. Now at the end, we're done, but we have to clean this fraction up. This fraction can be reduced. So my last step is to reduce fraction. If you can reduce the fraction, you should always reduce the fraction. So 3 and 6 can both be divided by 3. And so 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So negative 1/3 plus, well, negative 1/3 minus negative 5/6 equals positive 1/2. Let's do another one. If I have negative 1/8 minus 1/4. First step, change subtraction to adding the opposite, because taking away a positive is like adding negatives. Now, step 2, we have to have a common denominator. So 8 and 4. What can 8 and 4 both go to? 8. That'll be an easy one. So I don't have to do anything to this one, because 8 times 1 is 8, so 1 times 1 is 1. Over here, what do you do to a 4 to get to an 8? You have to multiply by 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. So negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. And I'm adding. Now that I have a common denominator, I keep the denominator the same. So my answer is going to have a denominator of 8. And if I have negative 1/8, if I have 1 negative 1/8 and 2 negative 8ths, how many negative 8ths do I have together? I have 3 negative 8ths. That's in purple. So you have 3 negative 8ths. Can I reduce this fraction? Nope. So this is my answer. All right, this concludes another lesson. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button, and ring the bell to get notifications. See y'all next time.